welcome to the stream! Today's stream is a Zeta Gundam Mecha tier list. So just to get some stuff out of the way beforehand, you know, the normal stuff. This tier list is not intended to be objective, and it's based just entirely on appearance and design, and which ones I personally like more. So, you know, don't get angry at me for which ones I like more. There was one other thing I was supposed to say. I don't remember what it is though, so it doesn't matter. So let's just get right into it, and we'll be starting with the Zeta Gundam itself. I thought this particular one was a higher quality line art. Are they all gonna be like that? Hang on, let me check one that I know is higher quality, like this one. Huh, I guess they are. I guess the tier list thing makes the images smaller. Huh, does it really do that with all of them? I don't like that. Why does it do that? Hang on, I know how to fix this and make it not like that. I think. Doing Zeta and double Zeta. Yep, I am. Hang on. There's a few other reasons the way I'm doing it right now is gonna be better anyway. So most of the time I've been using single-use tier list. This time I didn't because I wanted to make it so other people could do it later. But hang on, I can just give me one moment. Okay. Okay. And I think we should be good now. Ah, wait, no, I messed it up. Hang on. Amelia, hello, welcome to the stream. I just messed everything up, so I'm fixing it real quick. Wait a second, what did I... Oh, hang on. So if I make it a single-use tier list, it'll actually keep the quality of the images that I upload. If I don't, it won't. Ah, I tried to upload too many at a time. So I need to make it, I made it a not single use one so that other people could do it. And I will share that one, but this one will be single use, to avoid that. Did I miss one? Oh no, right there. Okay, I'm just reordering a few of them just to make it so it's in order that makes slightly more sense in a few ways. It's still mostly random. Okay. We should be good to go now. There we go. And let's see if this works. There we go. Yeah. Okay. we did it. Let me actually. There we go. Or hang on. Yeah. Okay. That is the best way to do it. Okay. So starting off with the Zeta Gundam. Actually, let me do a little bit more resizing. Hang on. That is... Okay, there we go. Hello, welcome to the stream! No, that still shows as Hang on. Trying to make it so you guys can see all of the, Yeah, okay. I want it to be so you guys can see all of it. But I can see it, Is that gonna... Hang on. Yeah, I want you guys to be able to see all of it, but I want myself to be able to see it in a larger view, but that's apparently not happening. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Okay, anyway. So, the Zeta Gundam, finally getting on with it. So it's... I think when looking at this design, you have to remember the context that it came in. Like, a lot of the things that we see as fairly common, like the double V-fin, or the lack of mouth vents, and the sharper look that the design has as a whole, were very new to Gundam at the time that this design came out in, what, 1984, I think? Or 1985? I think it was 1984. Anyway, and I think that's worth mentioning, that this is definitely a groundbreaking design for the time. I really like the way that the legs have this sort of shape to them. I'll tend to like that a lot in mobile suit designs. Those who were here last time would remember me praising the same thing about the Zephyranthus full vernier. One thing that Zeta started doing that I really like is the way that the, very often this, piece here is colored the same as the hand plate and not the rest of the fingers, and I really like that. I'm glad that it became a design trend for Zeta, and even into Sentinel. I like the lower profile vents. I think it works with the design like philosophy of this design. And then really the entire design flows in a way where it's instead of being like really boxy, it's more pointy. It's the general shape geometry is like a triangle, which helps to make it feel more pointy, and also to make it feel like it's a faster design. I think it does that very well, especially with like all these like thrusters. And usually I almost always give the main protagonist mobile suit usually ends up going in A, but I think for now I'm actually going to put this one in S. That's changing the shape of the tier list. Okay, what next? The gem roof fin. I actually almost didn't include this one because it's more of a mobile armor. Even in mobile suit mode, it still looks more like a mobile armor. But I decided it's probably thematically more like a mobile suit than a big mobile armor. And then also size-wise, it's more of a mobile suit, and even function-wise, it's kind of more of a mobile suit. Anyway, I really like this head. Who is this designed by? Is this Mecha Akataka? I think it is. Let me check. Yeah, it is. The way these like antennae are done is very it's Mecha Akataka's design style. Anyway, I really like these like cables on the neck. And they don't feel vulnerable either, because if those are getting targeted, you're done. You're already dead. It doesn't matter because they're like in the torso basically. But I really like this like antenna style. And then the head shape it doesn't feel humanoid at all. It feels rather animalistic, and I really like that on this one. Especially this little like chin, it gives it a bit more character. And then again with these like arms, it feels more animalistic. And in general, this design it's very not humanoid, and I really like that. The head popping out when it like transforms, the head like popping out of this like this opening and the head popping out. I like that. That makes sense, especially because the mono eye is still visible through this like slit. And then these intakes, again, they help to, sort of similar to the shape geometry of the Zeta Gundam, they make it feel faster just by them being there, you know? What's interesting to me is the big feet, because that's not common with this sort of design, which become the wings. I really like that. I would love if we could have a high grade of this sometime. I feel like the construction of that could be super interesting. Also, it's kind of funny that I spent so much time removing the backgrounds of these just for it to give it an off-white background. But that's more for it being in my personal collection. Anyway, I have fond memories of mass-producing this in SD Gundam X while playing against my brother, which is it's an old Super Nintendo strategy game. I actually like it more than the modern SD Gundam games, if I'll be honest. And this is actually, we're gonna put this in another S. I think actually we're gonna put this above the Zeta Gundam. Okay, a rather enduring design. The Capul. So very round. It's got a somewhat cute appearance, but it does have a cute appearance, but then it also, when you really start to look at it, it actually also has some cool aspects to it too, but also some more like very mechanical aspects as well, which is like, that really makes it feel right at home being a Xeon-esque aquatic design, because that's how, like, when you look at like the Act Guy, it has a very similar distribution of cuteness, but also like accidental cuteness, but it doesn't feel, the accidental cuteness doesn't feel out of place, is what I'm saying. Double Zeta is majorly lacking in HUC releases, though. Yeah, that's very true. Even I was surprised to know that there's no like full armor Double Zeta or even enhanced Double Zeta. Although I guess the enhanced Double Zeta could be interpreted as just the Zeta, or the Double Zeta, but drawn slightly differently. But yeah, I was kind of surprised to. I thought I remember there being one, but I guess not. Did I forget to do the background there? I think I did. I think there's a little bit of background right there. I can't tell because it's off-white or white. Anyway, it, like, transforming into a ball is kind of funny. But it does make sense. Balls are, you know, they're nice and curved. The one thing I'm not a big fan of is the I-beam. That sort of goes into that, like, Double Zeta sometimes tends to veer into Super Robot territory, which I'm definitely not opposed to Super Robot at all. It's just not usually what I look for with Gundam specifically. Actually, I just noticed on this arm, you can see it's like contracted, making it shorter, which it can do. It's nice that they show it both ways, so I don't have to just describe it. But then also, this is how good the design is shown by the fact that it's like the only change between the Double Zeta version and the Turn A version of the Capul is, other than color, which isn't really a design change. The only difference is I don't think they really bothered to do any of this like mechanical detail in here, which is something Double Zeta often have this like surprising amount of mechanical detail, which I really like about its mechanical design style. The only difference is they made it smaller, and like there's in general a few bits of detail are removed, but that's it. So it's a very enduring design, and I am quite a fan, and I'm very surprised on this one we don't have a high grade release, because I feel like they could just scale down the mold and recolor it, and then also have a Turn A release with the exact same CAD data. So it seems like Bandai, it seems like a missed opportunity. So we'll put this in B for now. It's probably going to go up higher, but for now we'll put it in B. I didn't realize it was going to be making the tiers so much bigger. I'm going to have to scale that down a bit. Next is the full armor Gundam. Actually, not. No, I want to do the full armor Gundam Mach 2 after the normal Gundam Mach 2. So we'll put that like right there. Same with, I want to do this after the normal double Zeta. Where is the normal double Zeta? There we go. It doesn't really matter too much, but I just prefer to do it that way. Okay, the full armor Hyakushiki Kai. This is different enough from the normal Hyakushiki that I don't mind doing it. So first of all, I am kind of glad that it has a solid color line art, because most of the line art you'll see of this one has the gold pieces having like a gold shiny texture. And I do like that. But if I'm talking about the design, I'm gonna prefer line art like this, because it makes it easier to like see the shapes and not get confused, because it's just, there's a lot to look at when it's all shiny like that. Anyway, so the head compared to the normal Hyakushiki feels more Zeta Gundam-like, with the way that it's like pointy, especially the way that the faceplate points down like that. I really like the way these cheeks are done though. And this antenna is very nice as well. It's angled more back than the normal Hyakushiki. It's got a very big backpack. I believe these are beam cannons. Holy weapons is beautiful indeed. It's hard to know where to go. There's so much to talk about this one. It's hard to know where to go with this, where to go next. The backpack, the evolution of the binders to this sort of shape is interesting, and it makes sense as a logical evolution from that point. Because then you can also you can put a little thruster on the end. The different feet shape, the pointed feet, is interesting to see where the designs are becoming this feels more double Zeta like, and it was probably made at a more double Zeta like time. Have you ever played Zeta Gundam Hot Scramble on the Famicom? I don't think I have. I should probably stream that at some point, actually. I keep thinking about playing it, and then I never end up doing it. And this has been going on for years, since I was like 15. So I should probably play that at some point, huh? Anyway. So it does look like the, with this part, it looks like the armor for the torso and the added armor here at the side skirt are joined together, basically, by this, these missiles. The things on the back of the arms fold down for an explosive punch. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't actually know that. I would have assumed that they were just missile launchers or like grenade launchers like the Zeta. It looks okay, but it does have a final boss. Bosses are from the show, I think. Interesting. Maybe I'll stream it soon. Anyway, so it's the levels just repeat after the final boss. Okay. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with I played the Macross Famicom game, but I was gonna stream it, but I decided not to because I completed the entire game in about 10 minutes. If not a lot less. It was between 5 and 10 minutes, so I don't think Macross for Famicom was worth a whole stream. Or, you know, I completed as much as you can complete it, considering when you complete it, the game just restarts from the first of its 2 levels. Anyway, so yeah, it looks like the extra armor here and at the side skirts would, be joined together, which would really limit mobility here. But I don't think that matters too much, considering, well, you can see how this is. What I'm not thrilled about is these exposed, like, pistons here. But then again, I guess it's pretty covered by armor. This piece of armor here would pretty much solve most of that. It feels like a slight oversight, especially when you got all this, like, all this impressive anti-beam coating, and then right here it's just nothing. Like, what's the point of the anti-beam coating then? I do like how this is like really the Sentinel style of hands. This isn't even the double Zeta and Zeta style. This is the Sentinel style right here, and I like it a lot. I wish the high grade Sentinel kits would do this in more of the same way that the 1/144th Sentinel kits did. The high grades seem to try and make it more like Zeta or Double Zeta, which is fine, but anyway, I'm getting off track. I like the way that this, like, I tend to like when chests come out in a point like this. That's the armored core fan we talked about. Let me move my fan. So it's blowing on me. The air conditioner is still broken, but it's mostly fixed. But it's leaking, so it's not going through the air, isn't actually going through the air ducts. Anyway. We got very big knees here. I like the thrusters here. Oh, also, Ogdemod, welcome to the stream. I forgot to say that. I like the thrusters here. That's very nice. And the extra bulk on one side is also quite nice. Little Veroners here is a great detail to help it be a little bit less of a sitting duck to just be pummeled by enemy attacks because it's slow. And I like this camera here. I forgot, I was already zoomed in. I like this camera here. It blends with the shape of these very well. And then these, like, armor plates here, they look very nice. I will say maybe this design wouldn't be the best design for that sort of thing because, you know, it's already going to be extremely expensive with all of this anti-beam coating, but it looks cool. And that's the important part. And I'm going to put this... Well, I think I'll put it in A. I haven't really appreciated this design before, but I think it's time to change that. Okay, so now, the Mach 2. I think this is probably the best RX-78-2-like design from Universal Century. So what I mean by RX-78-2-like design is that, like obviously the Zeta isn't very RX-78-2-like, or like the F91 for example. F91's got the big backpack and it's got its own gimmicks. Usually they generally have their own gimmicks after this, but the Mach 2 does not. It's like, I mean, yeah, it's got the movable frame, but that's not like an outward gimmick. So it's got somewhat small shoulders. It's got a normal backpack. Its weapons are a normal beam rifle, normal beam sabers. It's got a bazooka. It's got normal proportions. There's not anything specifically special going on, so it's more of a basic like RX-78-2 like design, but it's still a Gundam. It's like it's not a Jim. It's not a Zaku. It's a Gundam, but it's a more basic type of design. And I think the Mach 2 is the perfect basic RX-78-2 style design. The design feels very balanced. It's something special, but it's a beauty to behold. Exactly. It's not doing anything special, but it's perfect for what it is. So the toes are kind of a nice detail. And these like pistons here are a good example of, and also right here, what you can see of the inner frame there, are a nice example of what Zeta was going for with the way that it likes to do its mechanical detailing. You can see more of that again here at the arm, and it's nothing like what we would see at some points with like the damaged version of the Cycle Gundam Mach 2 that we would see. Like Zeta and Double Zeta really went all out with that sort of inner mechanical detail, but you can see the beginnings of that with the design here on the leg. As well as the design that we would see with one like outer one larger outer thruster and then a more smooth shape on the inside, but with still a thruster hole there. You end up seeing that a lot in Gundam, and I think this is really where that started. Although you do see with the Hyzak, so it's not where it started in universe, but I think more out of universe. These little bits of dark blue here are very, they tie the arm design together quite nicely. You can see a similar design here to where we saw with the Zeta Gundam on the backs of the knees. It's a similar angular design. I like the way the cockpit is done, where it's not just one that just moves up or down or maybe out. Most of the original Gundam is actually up or down, not out. Now that I think about it, but this one it's got, you know, this part moves up and then this part moves down, and then there's an even smaller one that also moves up, and it makes a bit more sense to me. And then the head is the face feels a bit smaller than the RX-78 maybe it's just my imagination, but it does feel a bit smaller. These parts here, which I can only imagine in universe, evolved from like an evolution of the, not only the beam sabers on the original Gundam, but also the pylons there on the Isaac. They make the design feel more unique, but they also just look really nice. The shoulder design is, the way it's got like 2 levels seems to be pretty common in Zeta. You can see again, this also has that sort of 2-level design where you've got an inner part here and an outer part here, and it makes it feel a little more interesting than the simple shapes of the RX-78 which makes sense also in universe since things are supposed to be getting somewhat more advanced, and armor is becoming more functional with things like these thrusters. There's a lot more thrusters in armor in Zeta than there is in the original Gundam. There's not much of that in it in the original Gundam. There's occasional little Werners here and there, but not really, nothing this much, you know. And it's nice how well this works with both the Ayuk and Titans colors. I chose Ayuk colors because it had the higher quality line art. Also, this is the colors that it's more associated with. And then also the how well the design works with the G Defensor is nice too. I didn't add the G Defensor as a separate mobile suit, I don't think. That's basically modernized versions of GPO4's Saber, Raxxas, and Booster points. That's true. Which actually, that's a good point that I didn't even think of. That it works really well with that, because you know that's supposed to be like sort of the starting point for a lot of the technologies here in universe. Like I think the way the frame works for the GPO3 is sort of the starts of the movable frame in the arms, which of course was translated to the Jim Quelf before this, obviously, because it's like basically a Jim Quell arm. But yeah, it's like, and then I think also I don't remember if it can, but I think this part can move at least slightly up and down compared to the rest of the shoulder, which definitely is only possible because of the movable frame. But yeah, I really like the Mach 2, and it's gonna go in A, but definitely above this one. Okay, next, I temporarily forgot the name of this one. I only woke up like an hour ago. Hang on. No, it's 2 hours actually. I know this one. My brain has caused it to not remember. Bawu, that was it. I was trying to search it up, but I failed. But I did remember, so it doesn't matter. So for the Bawu, it's got a very Zeta Gundam-like design. There's a lot of things where you can clearly see that Neo Zeon just like took directly from the Zeta Gundam. So this pelvic piece is very similar. The general shape of the legs, especially with this thruster there, is again very similar. The structure of the arms and the missile launcher there is again very similar, as well as the chest shape right down to these little spiky bits here. All of this feels like a bad guy Zeta Gundam, but it's a little more angular, especially like these skirt armors or these shoulders. I forgot the word shoulder for a second. Or this like spike on the head, but I actually like this more than the Zeta Gundam. I like the shape of the feet quite a bit and the way that it flows with the almost naturally reverse bent knees. I'm not a huge fan of the Bawu. I think it was Bawu Top and Bawu, or no, it was Bawu Attacker and Bawu Nutter. I also don't know why they call it the Bawu Nutter. So you'll have to ask. I guess ask Tomino about that one. But that's what they called it. So I'm not a huge fan of the splitting design, but it's interesting how they carry that to the designs from the Zanskar Empire, like a decade or two later out of universe. Of course, much later in universe. I like the backpack quite a bit. These like binders. They feel almost Hyakushiki like, or I guess probably more Delta Gundam like. But also, it's interesting that it makes it a smaller aircraft compared to if like the Zeta Gundam is. It's got fairly large mass for an aircraft, I think. Or rather for a fighter aircraft. Especially in Universal Century, where fighter aircraft seem to be considerably smaller. That boat was so cool. Indeed it is. So, there we go. Right at the top of S tier. Or maybe, do I like it more than the Gemini Fin? We'll say yes. I don't know why I don't have a high grade of that yet. Okay, for one that I do have a high grade of, the S Gundam. I got obsessed with this for a while after seeing the after getting the I found at a local used it's mostly a used game store, but they occasionally have Gunpla. Usually pre-built and used, but this one was not. It was a 1/144th S Gundam booster type, which I did not include in this tier list, but that got me obsessed, and I got the high grade of the S Gundam and the EXS. But what's interesting to me is this is a Kotoki design, and actually one thing you need to remember about this is that we see this as a more modern design because it feels more modern, but this actually came before the new Gundam. This is the third ever. This is the third ever design of a main mobile suit, if you count the Mach 2, which you probably should. But what's interesting to me, compared to Kotoki, Kotoki's more modern, known for things like his unicorn line arts. But if you look at this, like it's actually quite sloppy. Like this is, I don't think this is even the shape that this is supposed to be. Like this is oversized, and this side should probably be poking out through there, but it's not. This side looks bigger than this side, so it doesn't actually. I'm not criticizing, by the way. It's just interesting. I'm not saying it's like horrible because it's so bad. I thought the anime had artists a reputation of being serious and dramatic. That the Zeta Gundam, a more fun show, had a theme song called "This Isn't an Anime." Actually, what's interesting about that is how they changed that right when it starts getting much more serious. That's interesting to me, because the thematic change. That's Gundam artwork is a bit off. Some parts feel like they're out of place or a bit bigger than usual. That's what I was talking about. I'll get back to that in a second. But one of my favorite things about Double Zeta is that change, because if you think about it, like I'll try not to spoil anything with this, but like the end, especially by the end of Zeta, it's like very dark. And generally, there's not much happy things happening. Even, like, Tomino likes to make things just a little bit goofy sometimes, but he's not doing very much of that by the end of Zeta. And apparently the reason that he made Double Zeta the way it is at the start was so that people wouldn't feel depressed going right into another depressing anime right after Double Zeta. But what stands out to me about it is the fact that you've got a whole new cast of characters. And even by the start of Zeta, like how do I phrase this? They don't feel very removed from the conflict even at the start. Whereas, like when you look at Judo and Ellie and Bicha and the new cast of characters from Double Zeta, they're completely removed from the conflict before they're in the show. And even right at the start, it's a completely separate world from them. So it's interesting to me what Zeta seems to say about the way that war changes people. or not Zeta, I said Zeta, I meant double Zeta. It's interesting what double Zeta says about the way war changes people, because slowly, as they're exposed to the conflict, the vibe of double Zeta changes from the more goofy vibe it has at the start to something much more like Zeta Gundam. So that's why, that's one of the reasons that I actually really like the way that double Zeta is more goofy at the start. Anyway, I got totally sidetracked, especially because this isn't even a mobile suit from double Zeta. But yeah, the lineup feels more sloppy, but it gets the idea across. But it's just interesting to me that it does feel that way, because it's Kotoki, and he's not, and in the modern day he's known for kind of the opposite of that. But anyway, I do like these big side skirt cannons, even though normally we'd only be equipped with one, since normally it'd be equipped with its big rifle with the stabilizer in the side, which I kind of wish it had that there instead of this second one here, because it was not. This is not the standard armament. This would be the twin hip cannon armament, which is, you know, not the standard. But it's interesting how easily these wings merge back with the design of the what was it, the S Gundam bomber, and was it called Attacker? Let me see. Yeah, the Attacker. That was called the Attacker. Was it? Did I remember everything correctly? Yeah, the G Attacker, G Bomber, and G Core. That's what it was. I was right. So you can see the wings from the G Attacker and the G Bomber here, which is it's very nice. But also, compared to double Zeta, it does the three, like, combining into one mobile suit, but it feels more grounded. So it's interesting that it takes something that's one of the most super robot-like feeling things in double Zeta, but makes it feel more grounded. The big shoulders, especially with the lore that the generators are in there, are very cool, and it makes it feel more distinct, as well as its face is even sharper than the Zeta Gundam. And the faceplate is actually somewhat similar, but the head is like longer and thinner and less humanoid, which makes sense since it's, you know, it's not a human. It doesn't need to conform to a human's body shape. And I like when Gundam embraces that, which is one of the things I really like about the Jamboree Fin, which I placed right in S tier. And then these cannons seem to be an evolution, design-wise, of the, not in-universe, but out-of-universe, of the Double Zeta's beam sabers, and then the enhanced Double Zeta's beam cannons that it had that were almost just like this. In fact, probably they were, like, in-universe taken from the S Gundam, or not taken from, but the same model as the S Gundam. But what you do definitely get from Kotoki is a paying attention to realism in interesting ways, like this little thruster here. The forehead income is fun. That's true, yes. And it gives an interesting shape to the head as well. And then this like sort of big cockpit with the little, I guess, camera there is also it's very interesting, but it also became it's a Sentinel thing that I really like. I'm not a huge fan of this red piece coming out, but it's important for the transformation, I believe, so it's fine. But you do, Kotoki, even in this case, he couldn't resist putting these little, like, what do I even call these? Almost handles here that he loves so much. What else is there to talk about? I really like, you can't see it here, but I really like the thruster design style on the back of the leg. I think actually I used S Gundam legs for the like very early design for my own personal, like, build custom mobile suit. Anyway, this one's also gonna go in S tier, probably right here. We have way too many S tier mobile suits right now, but don't worry, we'll have more filling out other places. Man, I really should have added the... Hang on, I'm gonna add one more. Or maybe two more. I need more things to put in D tier. So people who know me probably know exactly what I'm about to put. Where is it? Why can I not? Why is it searching up what it is? Not. Come on. Okay, I'll just go to the Gundam Wiki. Oh yeah, I can actually go to the Gundam Wiki while I'm streaming because it won't just ruin everything. So there we go. I'll change the type to PNG because I don't know if this website likes WebPs. But yeah, those who know me and have heard me complaining and whining before probably know exactly what I'm about to put in there. Wait, did I actually put... Hang on. I can't find it now. I just put it in there, now I can't find it. Oh, it's right there. Hang on. Okay, I found two more to put in there. Because I just realized I'm not going to have anything to put in D tier. And I'm going to have to put things that I really, really love in D tier. And I don't want to do that. So. What? Oh, you'll see. Where is it? I'm not even bothering to remove the background on one of them, the one that has the background, because it doesn't deserve it. I'll put them in random places. Now, I will say some of you might not be very happy with me saying that, but you know what? You'll have to deal with it. Anyway. So, the full armor Mach 2. So now we go back to the Federation's obsession with full armor mobile suits. So, wait, is that... Hang on. Is that, like, technically transformed? That shape looks different. How? What did they do to it? Is that... There's no way that's the same... I wonder if that's just the way it was drawn or if it's supposed to be different. I think it was just the way it was drawn. I don't think it's intentionally in-universe different. Anyway, so I will say, first of all, I think there's no reason in-universe for a full armor Mach 2 to exist. That said, this is a pretty cool design. These, like, external cables are very nice. And it's interesting that on such a Gundam design, they feel, like, almost Zeonic. They're in a very Zeonic place, you know? Even the Highstack doesn't have cables there. I really like this big shield on the side, which also feels strangely Zeonic. But I guess it's not surprising considering how many Zeonic engineers were in Anaheim. You got the standard full armor Gundam twin arm cannon. I like these thrusters here. They help it to be a little bit more maneuverable, considering it's big and fat and heavy. This shape here is interesting, but I'm not sure what to say about it. I do like this extra antenna added, as well as this venting here. Vents are always cool. And then we've got some symmetry here with this part here, except this one doesn't seem to be filled in, whereas this one is. I guess that's to give it a little bit more armor for the head, considering it doesn't have this. I should have eaten something before streaming. I'm getting off track already. I have ADHD. if you can't tell. This design is interesting. The way that it's, hang on, it's like it flows in a very different way from the normal full art or the normal Mach 2's chest. Whereas like the full armor Gundam, the general design flows in the same general way as the RX-72, and I like that this one doesn't. It's more interesting in that way. The gas, the like exhaust being vented in a different direction is interesting, but there's no reason you couldn't do that, you know. As well as like, this reminds me of the Mach 4 and 5. And it's interesting that it does it this way. But I do like that it's like mostly just on the shoulders, upper arms, and then torso, but it's got a bit more symmetry with this big shield there. But I wonder if that could have been better to put on this arm, considering this one has this big shield. From Mach 2 feels like it's been designed by people who understand why the Fall Armor Gundam failed, but not to the extent that they shouldn't do it again. Exactly. But I am actually, I might even like it more than the normal Mach 2. I'll put it right below it for now. My neck hurts. Or rather, throat hurts. But it's not like, it feels like something is in the wrong place in my throat. It's not like a soreness, it's weird. I'll try drinking more water and see if that helps. Drinking water hurts. Anyway, let's ignore that and go to the next design. So, I'll warn you, I'm actually not a big fan of the Mach 2, or I almost said Mach 2, the Double Zeta's design. I do like this design of the arm. I'm mixed on how I feel about this shield. I'm not sure why it's that shape. But it's interesting that it has a shield like that's part of the arm. So it feels like they were sort of taking almost a design. I love bifurcated divinity, the wiggly justice. I've heard the word bifurcate so much more more often recently than I had before. But I always welcome a new nickname from Sprockets. I do like this sort of knee piece. It's interesting that sometimes the names make sense and the titles don't make sense. Okay. It's interesting how the Esther Gundam takes a lot of things about the Zeta that feel almost more kiddish, like this piece here on the knee, and make them feel more like real robot. But it's definitely a lot heavier. It's interesting that they used the size of the mobile suit as an excuse for why it like combines from. Oh, the shield is wings. I actually forgot. Yeah. But it's still an interesting shape. And I have mixed feelings about it. But it is interesting that the shields, it has like a shield in the body of it, like you know, that's like part of the mobile suit and not a separate armament like the Mach 2 shield, which is like, you know, it's a separate armament they can just ditch. Whereas this is not like that. Anyway, the cockpit is very blocky, which I feel neutral on. I do like this piece behind the head though. That would become something that would be a recurring theme. And then the big ass beam sabers are always cool. Mostly right here it feels very busy. Now if these thrusters were blue or if these ones were gold, ideally these ones being blue, I think that would help it feel a little bit less busy. I do actually really like the shape for the feet though. Why does my throat hurt? Yeah, it feels like something's in the wrong place. I don't know why. From the outside, it feels normal. If I touch it with my hands. Does it? Is that? Anyway, I have no idea why that is. I'll get back to this and try to ignore it. Just a general feeling of discomfort from my throat. But yeah, I really like the shape of the feet, and it's got sort of a high heel thing going on. And I do like the way that this, like, it's got a similar vibe to how on the Mach 2, it's like you see these pieces of armor covering up the frame, but it feels a little bit less cohesive there. I do like these pieces on the shoulders. It's weird that they would call it double Zeta when it feels so drastically different in universe. And then it's like the face I don't have any strong feelings on, but I will say the high Mega Cannon is very cool, but also feels a little bit like toyish. The fact that this is like angled this way, I really like it when that shape is angled that way. And then that goes well with the fact that the vents, where the vents attach, is also angled that same direction. But I'm gonna put this in C. I think. Maybe I'll move it up to B later, but I need some things to be in lower tiers. And then I can already barely, let's see if I can do that. And then, well, you guys didn't even see what I just did. There we go. Okay, next, the Gym 2. So, this is like, it's interesting how it's a standard gym design, but there's, how do I phrase this? It fits very well in with the designs from Zeta. So first of all, you've got the way that you can see that the inner frame is not just like part of the armor. Of course, it's not like the movable frame of the Mach 2, of course, but and then you got the Zeta style hands, which I really like. The fact that the skirt armors are separated makes it feel more like high quality than the original gym, which is kind of funny considering how much we see this thing get like thrown around. But it is actually better than the Gym 2 in universe. This camera is a nice touch that would later become kind of standardized in a lot of mobile suits. I like this antenna. It's almost surprising the original gym didn't have one. But then another thing that I like quite a bit is this detail on the knee, which is a kind of sensor. That's also quite nice. Who even designed this anyway? Was it? I don't think it was Okawara. Let's find out. It was designed by Kazuhisa Kondo. Oh wow, that's kind of surprising, with Kazuma Fujita doing cleanup. So I wonder if Kazuma Fujita is responsible for the hands being like that. But I am kind of, because Kondo is usually associated with like giant skirt armors and shoulders. So it's interesting that he designed this. You wouldn't expect that. But I am going to put this, it's kind of basic, it does everything it needs to, but I'm going to put it in C because I just really like a lot of Zeta and double Zeta stuff. So next, the Drayson. So normally I'm not a big fan of like fatter mobile suits, really. Some people jokingly said, I think it was jokingly, it makes more sense if it was, but jokingly said that my one year war one list was fat phobic. So that's pretty funny. But these 3-barreled beam machine guns are very cool. And the way that it causes the design to like have this like like big sleeve design is interesting and cool. I'm just skipping a song that I'm listening to because I heard it way too much recently. Okay, and it's got a very the head feels, it feels like an illusion of the Dom design, you know, but like more extreme with these like the shapes that it's got going, like the way it points up and then points drastically down. The spikes here on the backpack are pretty cool too. And they help make the design feel a little bit like more angular, like a lot of the designs from this era and faction in universe. You can tell this is an Izubuchi design. Gotta go, get ready to get going now. Okay, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen so far. But what you can tell this is an Izubuchi design because it's got, so first of all, he likes to seems, you got these like here, and here, you've got these 3 vents, which is Izubuchi tends to like that design. But more than that, it's the way that the shapes like this flow, and then you've got a similar flow here. But the way all those things flow is that's how he designs things, and that's the appeal of his designs. My throat still hurts. I wish it would stop doing that. Swallowing stuff does hurt, but it also seems to help. This happened one other time I was streaming. I don't remember what I was streaming at the time or when it was, but it was a long while ago. I wish it wasn't... It didn't happen when I was streaming something so speech heavy. But all the cables feel like a harkening back to something like the Zaku. The skirt armor is very thick. But it helps it feel more heavily armored. Especially with, honestly, a lot of the armor pieces you can see here are quite thick. But it feels compact still, which I really like that about it. You can see we've got some interesting mechanical detail in there. But yeah, this one I'm going to probably give, I think, B tier. And then we'll do the Gaza C before the other Gazas. Okay, the Gaza C. This one is a what I might refer to as a creature design, which just means it's like weird and odd. So you get on the one where the cannon is like attached to the torso, which is, for a handheld weapon, that's very odd, especially because it doesn't actually have a proper handle. But you know, why do you actually need a handle on a gun like this, on a mobile suit? If you don't need to be able to pick it up and put it down, it doesn't need a handle. Like, there's no need for a trigger. You've got wires going into the cockpit anyway. The way the frame is like the torso almost feels almost like a limb and less like a, you know, a torso. Because the way this like thing works. I don't know what else to call it. The backpack, I guess. But you got all these cables, which make it feel very Xeonic, which is probably pretty intentional. Crazy how this thing is a descendant of the Augo. Yeah, but also if you look at it, when you start looking at like the way that like this torso piece works, it sort of makes sense, honestly. I actually have the high grade of it right over there. I do quite like these shields here, and you can see this is where the beam saber's stored. And then also the way this shape is more of a like sharp shape. The legs feel kind of lazily drawn, but you know they had a lot of things to do, so I can't blame them. But it gets the point across, again, like the S Gundams. And this one is going to go in A. Right there. Okay, the guy's a D. So this one feels more substantial and more like a normal mobile suit, but you still got a lot of the same things, like the shield's attached in the same way, the transformation's the same, the like almost beam bazooka thing is attached in the same way. What makes it feel more substantial is the more normal torso, or rather waist, I should say, to distinguish it from the lower torso and the upper torso. But then also the feet feel much more normal, like normal feet, whereas the Gaza C's are a bit smaller. I wonder if there's a Gaza A. I never thought about that. There is, which is from Advance of Reboot. And that, you guys should all go look at it. I'm not going to include it in this because I didn't before. I probably should have, though. You know what? No, I still can. And I'm still going to. Okay, now I do also wonder if there's a Gaza B. There is. An unused design. I'll include that too. Why not? Okay, I will add those to the tier list now. This one's legs remind me of the Scope Dogs. They actually are quite similar to Scope Dog. Anyway, I do like this one more than the Gaza C, I think. I'm gonna put it there, and now we will add the other two Gazas. Right there. Where's the other one? Okay, another advanced Zeta one. The Gaza E, not E, A. The Gaza A, which is just like a work construction pod, but you can more easily see the resemblance of the Ago here, which is interesting. There's some extra sharpness here that I wouldn't have put there personally because it doesn't make sense to me as a descendant of the Ago for a work pod. But you can see some things like this striping here makes it feel more believable as a work pod, as well as the fact that it has no weapons or anything. But this feels, at this point, I'd say it's still a mobile pod, definitely, and definitely not a mobile suit yet. But you can see a lot of the shapes of things, like these became the shields. This would later have that like shape that like the big forehead. And I think these are probably the what would become the legs and feet, which is interesting. You can see it has that same sort of shape. And I'll put it in B right here. And the next, the Gaza B. This feels slightly less cohesive with these two, but it feels more cohesive with this one, less cohesive with this one. So this one clearly wasn't referencing this one at all. But in some ways it still does. Like, you can see that it's these two are like performing cell division between the head and this part that you can see are combined right here. As well as the fact that you can see that the legs are still like what was the arms right here, and the arms are again performing cell division from the shields. But this feels more traditionally mobile suit like than the Gaza C, which I don't think makes sense for something at that point in the development of the Gaza C. I guess this is where they got the idea to have the it attached what would later be right there. So I'll put this one also in I think I'll put this one in. I do really like the design by itself, though, so I'll put it right here. And finally, the final mobile suit in the Gaza line, the Gaza E, which is also my favorite. Or actually, come to think of it, there was a Gaza F, wasn't there? But it's more similar to this one. But you can see this one is like sort of back in the direction of mobile pod because it was optimized more for the transformation. Where the feet are like it can't stand on these anymore. And then the arms are also somewhat atrophied. And then that camera is switched to one of these kind of sensors, which I think makes it look very cool, but also it makes it fit more in with the rest of Sentinel. But this one feels even more creature than the Gaza C. I like the shape of these, and also the way I don't have a picture of it, but the way it looks in its mobile armor form. Also, the way how do I phrase it? The way this looks makes sense for something it's supposed to primarily operate in mobile armor form. But it also just looks really cool. And it fits very well with the Sentinel aesthetic. So we'll be putting that at the top of the Gazas. Probably right. Yeah, right here. I need to put something in D tier to balance it out. So next will be this thing. You guys, some of you probably saw it coming, but we got it. Actually, no, I want to talk about the normal Hyzak before I talk about the advanced Zeta one. There you are, to the front of the line. Did I just open that in a new window? No, I think I copied the link on accident. Yeah. There. And that's better. Okay, the Hyzak. So again, we see that sort of design where you got a big thruster on the outside of the leg and a little vernier on the inside, which is very cool. And it makes a lot of sense. We've got the way that it's like, it looks very Zeonic at first glance, you know. So you got the spike shield, you got the normal shield, you got some cables, a mono eye, and a vent there. Bigger feet and more like bubbly, almost rounded surfaces. But when you really start to look at it, so the Zaku's didn't have anything like this at the knee. The Gyms did, and this also does. The distinct skirt armors and the way that this crotch piece works, again, very gym-like. The way the cockpit works, and also the vents, and even this right here is all very gym-like. The arms are more squared off. The backpack feels more gym-like. Like, when you really start to look at it, you start to see how this, like, outside of the very obvious outside Zaku-like nature of it, it does start to look more like a gym. My personal theory for why this thing exists is that it was actually not made for the Federation or Titans at all. It was probably made for the Republic of Zeon, which explains why it has such a weak generator, even weaker than a normal gym, because there were probably regulations around what the Republic was allowed to have on their militia. And then it ended up being really good, so the Titans said, ooh, give it to me. Anyway, I really, really like the Hyzak. A lot of you who have been following me for a while probably know this. I have 8 high-grade Hyzaks and the original 1144th kit. The only Gunpla review video that I have put out so far was the high-grade Hyzak, although I do actually have one that I did film recently. It was the high-grade Gym. I need to do a voiceover and edit it. But anyway, like I said, I really, really like it. I do kind of wish it was a little bit less Xeon-like for a Titan's mobile suit. I kind of take a little bit of issue with how the Titans have all these Xeon-like mobile suits just to tell the viewer, hey, look, they're the bad guys. Like, I think we can tell. They're gassing colonies and stuff. I don't think we need to say, oh, look at that mobile suit's eye to know that they're the bad guy. But anyway. Especially when they have Gundams also anyway, like, that doesn't help us. This one is, I think I'm going to put this one in S for now. It might end up going down to A later, but for now it goes in S. Now, the Advanced Zeta 1. It feels much bulkier to the point where it's at the detriment of it. Like why is it so bulky? That's not what the Hyzak is. And then this feels like there's a needless number of shapes here. The shield is tiny. The armor feels more like they did keep the fact the way it feels like it's mounted to the torso here, which is nice. But then the way that all the lines are straight on the legs, it feels uncanny, especially when you do have the occasional curve like right there, would make those feel out of place. And then this is in canon supposed to be like, you know, the Zaku's like captured Zaku rifles that were modified and repurposed, which makes sense since there'd be a ton of those. There was a somewhat similar thing done with how the at the end of World War I, the Fokker D7 performed so well that it was captured by the Allied forces. But yeah, to me, it's like this thing, they don't get the Hyzak. Because what this is not what the Hyzak is supposed to be. And I don't like it because of that. Even like the tiny, like the thin slit that makes it feel so pissed off and the tiny eye. It's like, it's so different than the very characteristic like wide open slit with a bigger mono eye even than the Zaku, which makes it, that's part of what makes the Hyzak feel the way it is. And then this completely ignores a trend for all mobile suits, even Federation ones, like even like the Jim 3, for instance, to have more curves in it. It ignores that trend, which is what the Hyzak started, and I like that a lot. Like the Mach 2, you can see, where is it? Has similar leg shapes to the Hyzak because it was partly based on it. And then this throws all that away, so it goes straight in D tier, where it belongs. Can you tell I don't like the AOZ Hyzak? I hate it. Other Advanced Zeta Hyzaks that are not reboot are great, but I hate the reboot Hyzak. It doesn't understand how the Hyzak works, and it takes everything the Hyzak is and makes it bad. Okay, anyway. I forgot what this one is. Hang on, I'll remember, hang on. I remember the model number even, it was AMX-109, I believe. No, wait. No, it wasn't. AMX-109 was the pool. I don't remember. I know this one. Zeta, that was it. What even was the model number? It started with AMX for sure. (102). Okay, yes. The Zeta. Its name vanished from my brain for a second. So the feet, you can see, have a slightly similar design to the Well, you can't see it as well there. But you can see the 3 clawed foot design is sort of here, but it's got 2 extra ones, probably because it's so fat and heavy. Complimentary, by the way. And you got all these missiles, because you can never have enough missiles, apparently. And then this spike of the booster is interesting, because it is, combined with a booster. But this is also one it's such a creature mobile suit because it doesn't even have a neck. It's just got a head mounted in the torso, which is it's cool and interesting, but it's so creature. And yeah, I'm not surprised that when they're looking for a weird mobile suit to put in turn A, they settled on this one. It's a goblin with missiles. That's exactly it. And I mean that in a complimentary way. I love the fact that it's a goblin with missiles, but that's exactly what it is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we're going to put this... Where do I even put this? I'm going to put it at the top of C. Okay, the Psycho Gundam. So it's interesting how RX-78 like this is in design, if you ignore its size. Now it does actually, compared to something like this, the angle and pose as similar. Well, no, they're more similar than I thought, but it helps to make it feel a bit bigger, you know. But I do like the red eyes and especially the mouth, where it almost looks like it's screaming. Make it feel more, not only evil, but also almost tortured, you know? Which makes sense thematically with how it is. I feel like the laser hands were done better in this case than they were on the Zeong, where I don't really like them. These hands, or these vents here are very interesting. And you've got all these Varaners that are very common with Zeta mobile suits as well. But overall, this feels less like a Zeta mobile suit and almost more like a scaled-up one-year war mobile suit, because that's kind of what it is. It has Zeta internal technology, but not really design technology other than the transformation. I do really like these shapes here, which I don't think they would work as well on a smaller mobile suit. One thing I am not a big fan of is this here. That feels kind of out of place, and I'm not a huge fan. But the way it was designed works really well with its place in the story. Now, where do I put it, though? I think C, right here. Okay, and here we have the Nemo. A lot of you probably already know that I really like the Nemo. I was just stretching. Okay, so the it's got these one of my favorite things about it is these big thrusters here, which are taken from the Gym Sniper 2 in canon. Again, we've got that two segmented, the 2-layered shoulder here. These cheek parts make the head feel more unique. I really like the angling of the vents here, as well as the bigger cockpit block. All these help to distinguish it more compared to other gym-looking mobile suits. Again, we have this detail here, borrowed from its the Gym 2 part of its ancestry, but more a bit further down. And the way it's at this part that flares forward, that's it makes this part feel interesting, but it also makes the leg as a whole feel more interesting. And then you've got more of this mechanical detail that Zeta really likes. There's not that much to say about it, but it does the fundamentals perfectly, and it's gonna go right at the top of A. And now the Methus, another a very unique and interesting one. We can see here that it's got a lot of its internals exposed, which is something is again Zeta was doing a lot of. Which makes more sense for a transformable craft. But then also the way the armor's shaped compared to something else that has an exposed inner frame like this in the torso, namely Iron-Blooded Orphans mobile suits, it feels with where the way the armor around it is done, it feels more protected and defensible, as well as actually having a reason that it's like that, that being the transformation. The head is also quite odd, especially with the fact that it uses a mono eye, which again kind of defeats the whole point of giving the Titans mono eye mobile suits to make us know that they're supposed to be the bad guys. The pistols being like inside the arms is also quite interesting. I like the way that it's like. Again, this is a mobile suit. It's what I would refer to as very creature. It's a very creature mobile suit. And the way that the like upper legs like go inside the lower legs in the mobile armor form is very interesting. And then I'm a big fan of these feet. They almost look like the Throne Gundam's feet. But I think it kind of works better with this design, honestly, than the Throne Gundams. As much as I love the Throne Gundams, honestly, more than this one. These, like, flaps here are very cool, and they, they fit with the thruster here very well. I don't know if the way I phrased that makes any sense. But yeah, this thing is, it's very weird and it's great. And I'll put it in definitely an A tier, probably right here. I think this thing was fun to play in Gundam. I was about to mention that like that's probably one of the reasons that more people know it now. But I never really played Gundam Evolution because I didn't really enjoy it that much. How far have we come? Oh my god, I want to speed this up a bit. Especially because my throat hurts. So, the Arjarja. So, this one is... I don't remember if this is Izubuchi or Akitaka. Let me find out. I have the high grade of this, by the way, and it is quite good. Oh! It's the principal design was Izubuchi and the cleanup was Akitaka, so no wonder I couldn't remember which one it is. It is both. That's kind of funny. Anyway, so that the head is the kind of design you'd expect from Izubuchi, the way that it's like, sort of the way that I guess just the way it is. The spike really makes it feel more knight-like. And it's interesting how you can see this with the beam saber here, and the way a lot of it flows. It sort of feels like the Gyan, which is sort of a successor to. It's like, hey, what if the Gyan was actually good? I really like the way these arms are shaped, and then also the gun, especially with the removable what's it called? I forgot. Bayonet. That's it. That can be used as like a short sword. That's very cool. But also, even just the design of the gun by itself is it's so cool. So I do like this one quite a bit, which is why I got the high grade. Again, we see that tendency for a big thruster on the side of the leg and little Veroners on the inside. Although this is more than little Veroners this time, but anyway. Oh, I forgot to. I'm not actually putting it there. Don't worry. But these also give the appearance of a cape. I forgot to mention that, which is quite nice. The shield's there. Right there, I think. We'll put him down to B. Okay, the Kubile. So right off the bat, one of the first things that I notice is the spiky clawed hands, which is which is very cool. The big shoulders also are noticeable, but the way that they come to a graceful point makes it almost makes the design as a whole feel like a flower. Because there's a lot of these like gentle curves that end up coming to a point, but it doesn't feel spiky. It feels more, like I said, like a flower. But the way that the foot is shaped is interesting. You've got this like wedge piece for a knee, or for like a heel, which is pretty common in this era of design. You see it here as well, to a lesser extent. Or honestly, even in the full armor Mach 2. It's that same wedge heel. But I do like it quite a bit, which is, so I'm not complaining at all. These vent shapes here at the back are also they're very cool. That I like it when there's that sort of vent on the back there. The fact that it's got 2 eye holes but 1 eye is interesting, but it sort of seems like an evolution of something like the Zaku 1, and it clearly doesn't seem to bother it, so I will put it, I think, in B tier. Maybe C, actually. Yeah. I do really like it, but you know, there's so many that I love. I can't put all of them in S tier. Oh, that's the other thing I was supposed to say. I was trying to remember what it was earlier. Yeah. It's all of this is very, what's the word? It's very relative. That's the word. Yeah, all this is very relative, because like the example I always give is Baver's Transformers, because all that sucks. If even in this one, if this one was in a tier list of Baver's Transformers, it would be at the top. I promise you. But in this tier list, it's at the bottom, because that's how relativity works. It has to be relative, because they can't all be in S tier. Okay, the gun cannon detector, which, believe it or not, is actually a relative of the Methus. A lot of the shapes are similar to the original gun cannon, like these big round arms, or the torso is rather similar also, and of course the cannons. But I really like the head. It actually feels quite Zeonic. The legs are where it inherits the creatureness of the Methus. And I like the gun quite a bit too. It's very interesting, but also somewhat similar to the gun cannon. Okay, so where do I put this? Probably right there. No, I'll put it right there. Okay, the Nemo 3, where its more Zeonic heritage starts to show through. These backpack parts are interesting, sort of similar to the ones here. So I guess that's just an AU thing. Also, these skirt armors are interesting. We don't see that this sort of shape very often, where they meet in the middle. You can still see the Nemo-like part here. The last message didn't show up, so the Kublai has 2 eyes. Let me look. Maybe I'm misremembering. You mostly it does. Okay, never mind. I was wrong. You mostly see it from the head looking like a side eye, so you usually only see 1. I misremembered. Anyway, you see a more Zaku-like shoulder shield with spikes, no less, and then the head has morphed into a very interesting shape where it's much longer and less humanoid, and it also feels less like this one feels more like gym-like in like the way that it's. A lot of gyms feel like innocent and almost cute in the head, and this one feels more cool, which is nice. And then I feel like the legs are really where it's just feeling more Zeonic. There's a lot of Federation there too, of course, like these parts here and like the knees here. But generally the legs start feeling more Zeonic here, and that's not a complaint at all. I like how you can see the lineage mixing in real time. And this one is going to, I definitely like it less than the normal one, but it's still very cool, and I'll put it right there. Okay, the Dovin Wolf. I really want the high grade of this. The big backpack, especially with these cannons here, is very cool. Or were they cannons? I don't even remember if they were cannons in the original. These cannons here are very nice. It's very bulky. It's interesting how this part flows, but maintains the bulk. My favorite part, though, is the head. The head is wonderful. I'm a huge fan of the head of this one. But in general, I do really like this one. The body is very wide. And you have a little bit more of that, like, flowing nature here. Again, you've got the little vernier thruster on the inside and the bigger thruster on the outside. The shoulder's also quite nice. Again, we've got that two-layer shoulder design. And you got more of that, like, bits of mechanical detail in little places that make it feel more real, you know? I do like the big chunky arms also. And this one, I'm gonna put this one quite high. I know that for sure. Probably right there. I think I will put that down to C or to B for now, not C, B. Okay, the Psycho Gundam Mach 2. So, one of the parts that stands out the most, and I think is also the most cool, is the head. It's got such a cool head design, and it feels very intimidating and evil, honestly. And the eye part makes me almost wonder if it was originally supposed to, in canon, have a mono eye, before it was later changed to a two-eye type. The cables here and here make it feel more like experimental, and like it needs those for its huge amounts of power. It's got a lot more guns than the original Psycho Gundam, but it keeps a lot of the Psycho Gundam's aesthetics. But this one feels more Zeta-like in its shapes, instead of the more One-Year War feeling Psycho Gundam. These thrusters are not thrusters, these vents are very cool. The arms are also very cool, and this vent here is a nice touch. We love vents where they should be, or when they are where they should be. This part here almost feels Zeta Gundam-like, surprisingly, but I think it's more just, I guess, convergent evolution. These bits of armor protecting the exposed, like, parts on the upper arm are perfect because, you know, it protects the exposed upper parts of the arm. And yeah, this is one of my favorite designs, honestly, from Zeta. It was so impactful to see, and I really, really hope I can get the high grade at some point. So definitely is gonna go higher than the original Psycho Gundam. As cool as that one is, this one just absolutely blows it out of the water. And I think I'll put it in B. Probably right here. Okay, the Zaku 3, famous enough for always being bulky. It's got the same sort of head design, which makes you feel like it's probably a Mecha Akitaka design. Hang on, let me check. Oh, he did the cleanup, but apparently the principal design was done by Masahiro Oda, which is not a design or a name I'm that familiar with. But it's interesting how, in a lot of ways, like this like 3-segmented chest is not very Zaku-like. It's not very much like the Zaku 2, I should say. Neither is this the way that this part works here. But overall, the design managed to keep something of a Zaku 2-like feel through things like this shoulder shield here, or this shoulder armor. But it's less like it's similar to the Zaku 2 and more like it's supposed to invoke the Zaku 2's design lineage, because technically it's not even based on the Zaku 2, which it wouldn't make sense if it was. The cannons here on the skirt armor are interesting. It's a way to more use the skirt armor for something other than defense. And it is quite cool. And I'm going to put it in... where? Right here. No. Here. And I'll put this down to there. Okay, the Gallus J. So... this one's sort of... it does the... wait, how do I want to phrase this? The way that Double Zeta mixes like the seriousness of Gundam as a whole and a slightly more goofy aspect as well, this does that perfectly with its like weird like extending punch arm, but then you've got things like the head looks very, very cool. I'm also a big fan of the shoulders, and they protect the arms quite well with this like shoulder armor here whilst not being too intrusive. I really like the used gray parts and their missile launchers. And also the way that the legs flow is quite cool. And you can see where I think this one's the first design I can think of in terms of real world design to have this sort of design with this like bit of armor here that goes over the feet. That in universe, of course, it was like the I think it would be the Gelgoog Jaeger, but later that would become very well loved by a lot of later designs, especially Kotoki's later Xeon designs for things like Unicorn. So I think this is the first out of universe usage of that, and that's quite cool. But yeah, this design is quite nice. I'm glad it has a high grade coming out. And where will I put it? Probably right here. Okay, the Nero. A predecessor to the S Gundam. I really like this rifle. It feels somewhat, almost RX-72-like in a way, but it definitely does have, it fits with the design well. It doesn't feel archaic. It feels nicely modern. You can see the inner frame here a bit, which is quite nice, but it doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like it's wrong. It just feels like it's something you can see. It's got those same like hand design, especially with the smaller hands, that a lot of Sentinel stuff does. The arms feel more typical here compared to the S Gundam. The 4 vents here is interesting. And then also the way the head is more the same sort of general shape as the S Gundam, while keeping the visor it looks very cool. I do like this one quite a bit. I like it almost as much as the S Gundam, and I'm going to put it right at the top of A tier. The Nero right next to the Nemo. Okay, the Hama. Okay, so the head is actually very cool. Very spiky, but very cool. And I like the way that it flows with the rest of the design. I also really like the way the legs flow. I think the shoulders here are a little bit silly, but it's still pretty cool, I guess. So the arms are also pretty cool. And it's interesting what this led to with things like the Rosen Zulu. But I do like this design more than the Rosen Zulu. Mostly the legs are very cool. It's something that looks like a flower, but in a different way. It looks more like I don't know. It looks like a flower, but in a different way than the Kubele. And it's nice that all of the cables again make it feel more prototype-y. But we'll put it right here. I forgot the name of this one. I was just thinking about it the other day. Hang on, I'll remember, or I'll try and search it up while I'm trying to remember. Game Alk. That was it. I did not find it out by myself, by the way. I had to search it. It does feel a little bit busy, but considering its bulk and size, I don't think that's a big issue. Lots of like cannons and stuff, not to mention the huge amount of bits in these like containers. The fact that it's wearing mittens is a bit silly. But it does a good job being what it is. The big legs make it feel very planted, and it makes it feel much more bulky than it otherwise would. And it's got this way that, again, the armor here looks like it's like a cowl covering the inner frame, which gives it a detailed feel, along with nice little details like these thrusters here. And the cannons here are also a nice touch. But it definitely feels very big and like an immovable force, which I feel like it's that's definitely the intention, especially because this thing is very big. It's like what, like almost 30 meters tall. Let's find out. "25 meters tall, yeah, and almost 80 tons. So it's not small at all. Also, the parts here in need being, as I'm pretty sure that's where it was, being the beam sabers is pretty cool also. It makes sense that you need a unique beam saber with this as the hands. But yeah, I can't put it that high, but I'll put it right here. Okay, the Gazan. This is one that I really want to get a high grade because I like this one quite a bit. The rifle is quite cool, but it seems like it's an evolution of the Gaza C rifle. In fact, in general, this seems like it's somewhat of an evolution of the Gaza C. What if the Gaza C was a normal mobile suit and also a lot heavier? What if it wasn't a creature? Even more than the Gaza D already is that. So it's got more normal legs. The feet feel very flat, but not in a bad way. It works with the design. These big vents are very cool, and they work well with the way this is shaped. Considering this is transformable, it feels nice and heavy, but not like Game Alk heavy, but like heavy in a different way, you know. Where will I put this? Probably right here. Okay, the Gundam Mach 3. Specifically the Ayug version, because the others are completely different designs. Okay, so the rifle I like quite a bit. It feels like an evolution of the Hyakushiki's rifle. The fact that it's longer is pretty cool. But it's got this signature shape here. The arms also feel quite Hyakushiki-like, as do these parts on the legs. But it takes a lot of my favorite parts of Hyakushiki, so I'm not complaining. The big back skirt is pretty interesting, and it makes it feel more unique. My favorite part is the head. I absolutely love the head. The shoulders, again, have that like 2-layered appearance. Actually, almost similar to the Nemo in this case. The cannons here are pretty nice too. The only part I'm not a big fan of is the shield, but it's not that I don't like it, it's just that I don't have any strong feelings about it at all. I especially like the red version because my favorite color is red. And this one's gonna go right here. We got this one next. The Advances Zeta Barisam. Which, actually, do I want to do this one yet? No, I want to, again, I want to do the normal bar Sam first. Where is the normal bar Sam? Okay, the normal bar Sam here. So, what's an interesting fact I found out about this is that out of universe, or not out of universe, in universe, it's supposed to be a successor to the Mach 2, although it feels more like a successor to the Advanced Hazel, which is kind of supposed to, that's supposed to help the fact that it doesn't look much like a Mach 2. But out of universe, it wasn't designed as that at all, and it was just designed as the successor to the Hyzak as the standard grunt, which is kind of funny. Anyway, this one also has some creature-like vibes of the big chest, which seems to be covering up the internals not very closely. It's not stretched around the internals. It's like more like a shirt. But it's got these like nice big thighs that like taper outward, which is very nice. But the lower legs are much bigger, and like the way they taper down is very cool. And then also these like the big ass high heels make it feel very distinct and very unique, and I really like that about it. I do prefer, I think, the illustrations to this is bigger. But I don't really have a huge preference at that. This armor piece here is very interesting. And then also the shoulders, surprisingly, they have a somewhat similar shape to Exia, although again, that's definitely just convergent evolution. But I do quite like the shoulders. The head is also nice. It gives a very, again, a creature feel. I like this little indent right there. And then the way that the arms come down, like, all the way past the knees, that gives it more of its signature unique feel. Which works really well with the way that its like gun attaches, like it goes on the outside of the arm and attaches to the shoulder with a cable. It feels significant, or like not significant. It feels like weird enough. I will put it right at the bottom of A, although it's right at the bottom of S, although it's probably going to go near the top of A later. Now for the AOZ reboot version, which again just doesn't understand it at all. So they completely took away the huge torso, which is like, you know, one of the main points of it. The shoulders are fine, I guess. But they felt the need to make the head like more angular and cool, as if it isn't already. And then this part is like way huger and wider than it originally was. I do actually like these like details there, which aren't actually shown on this one, but they are there on the high grade kit. But I do actually, yeah, I do like those details, which is where my praise ends. Why did these go up so high? Because like clearly they're attached right about here. So why? What's up here? What's going on? And then they got rid of the huge high heels. Now there's small high heels. What's the point? Yeah, again, this is one. It's not nearly as bad as the Hyzak, but again, it misses the mark and it doesn't understand the mobile suit. Okay, the Rick DS, much wider than the previous one we did. I really like the backpack and these guns that like flip forward. Again, we have that that 2-layer shoulder thing, but it feels like almost in a transitionary period. The head is very interesting. It's a very unique design. It's leagues away from anything we saw before that. And this really does feel Zeonic for the most part, despite being based on the Gamma Gundam. And I like that because the Gamma Gundam was based on Zeon technology that was, you know, captured and whatnot. Let me take a drink of water because my throat is hurting quite a bit. Okay, and I think the backpack is my favorite part of this design. I will say that the knees feel a little bit extraneous there, but then again, it is protecting the inner parts there, so I guess it's fine. And I'm going to put this... I don't know where to put this. I'll put it right here for now. Okay, the Gym Sniper 3. I have edited this line art because this line art normally has the visor as orange for some reason. And it's supposed to be a nice vibrant red like this. So, this one feels more like a one-year war mobile suit for the most part, because it technically, for the most part, sort of is. But you can see it's got the sensors borrowed from the Gym 2. It's got some. This right here feels very AOZ-like, but like early AOZ when I personally like it more. And it's got extra vents added for the power. It's not shown here, but the rifle I really like. But I started using a Garibaldi shield that helped make it feel more Titans-like. Of course, my personal favorite version is the high mobility one, which uses a high-output version of the prototype, or the pre-production type Hyzak backpack, which makes it basically a prototype for the Hyzak custom. And we'll put this... Where do I even want to put this? We'll say right here. Okay, with this being like halfway done, I think I'm gonna take a small break. Just because my throat really hurts, I'm just gonna take like a 5-minute break to just like rest my throat. So I will be right back in like 5 minutes. Okay, we're back. I did also do some research on why it feels like there's a lump in my throat, and it's probably just what's referred to as global sensation, which is, in this case, I think probably just caused by some level of allergies. Technically, it could be throat cancer, but that's probably not it. Probably not the best idea to jump to the worst conclusions, huh? Okay, so the Zeta Plus, I think this one is the A1. Yeah. Because the C1, the B1 has a different head, and the C1 has a different crotch. And I don't remember what the A2 is like. Anyway, this has a lot of what I like about the Zeta Gundam, like this shape here. The way that this part and this part are different is nice, and this vent here is very cool. The arms feel very Sentinel, as well as these lasers, the beam cannons here, which is, I think, directly where the S Gundam gets it from in canon. It's also got that very Sentinel-like cockpit, but then the chest as a whole feels very Zeta-like. It is a mass production of the Zeta, after all. I really like its wings, and especially the fact that they have variable wing geometry. Compared to the normal Zeta, I like that a lot more. But it does have a lot of the same parts on the head that make me really like the Zeta in the first place. I don't know how I feel about these parts here, which are more prominent than the original Zeta, I feel. But I guess I feel neutral about them then. So I will put it, I think I like it less than the normal Zeta, but I'll put it right there. Okay, the Gabaldi Beta high mobility type. So first off, it's got a bigger forehead, I notice, which I don't have a strong opinion about either way. I do quite like the vents here. Those are very cool. I'm not going to talk about the parts that are just Gabaldi because I haven't done that yet, and it's over here. So I'm mostly just talking about the high mobility stuff. The backpack here is quite cool, especially this like little vent here. As well as this extra armor here. It also makes it feel a little more unique, you know. And the colors suit it quite well. It's surprising how well these colors suit it, considering it wasn't designed to have these colors. Especially, you know, these the red fingernails. Just wanna, you guys know I love that. Where did I put this? Probably right here. But now we can't see all of it, so I think in this case I'll just zoom out. There we go. Okay, so the EXS. So with this part here, that means it now is free to finally always have a second beam cannon. That's cool. I really like this center part here on the chest. This liner doesn't have the big fuel tanks, which I really like. And then also it changing from being from transforming into a like a G core and a G attacker and a G bomber. It changes into the G cruiser, which is 1, which kind of makes more sense. The added parts on the legs make it feel more bulky, which is it's very nice. Little details like these little cameras here, or sensors, I guess, are very nice. It's got the same head, which is interesting because nowadays, mostly when a mobile suit is upgraded to a greater form, usually the head is changed so they can show just the head and signify that. But I like the fact that the EXS didn't, because it feels more realistic that way. I do like, however, when the blue is like a lighter blue, and then also the red is changed to blue, like on some versions of the Master Grade. I think that suits the EXS better. But yeah, these bigger parts here also make it feel more unique and interesting, especially with the incoms there, which is also very cool. And the huge backpack, it makes it feel so big and bulky, but not in like a slow Dom-like way, you know? I have one right over there. That's what I was just looking over at. Sadly, the high grade's actually not that great because the EX parts on the legs make it so it can only move a few degrees. So it's mostly just stuck. But I am going to put this above the normal S Gundam. Okay, now the mass production Zeta Gundam. I absolutely love this one. The gun is not my favorite design, admittedly. Mostly I'm not a big fan of this part here. What is even going on with that? However, the way the legs are, so I really like this part here, the way the foot is shaped. Nice looking head. The head is my favorite part, I think. It keeps the general shape of the Zeta Gundam's head. But this visor is very interestingly shaped. I really like that. The cockpit is also an interesting shape too. The cannons there are, or not cannons, the shoulder, what is wrong with my brain right now? The side skirt armor there is a very interesting size too, especially because the front skirt armor is much smaller. All these cables are interesting, which I imagine would take down costs of having to make the cables not exposed. But with how the armor is, it doesn't feel like it'd be a nuisance at all. I really like the way the backpack is done also, which would give it more typical wings. And I'm gonna put that right there. Okay, the Bond dock. I'm gonna have to disappoint. I don't know what's wrong with my brain today. I'm gonna have to disappoint probably quite a few of you because I don't like this one. I'm not a huge fan of the idea of the head being the arm. That doesn't make mechanical sense to me. This big claw arm is pretty cool though. But I think the head looks silly. It looks like a weird bird. I don't really like the way the body is shaped either. The legs are fine, I suppose, but they feel the lower legs feel a little small for the size of the entire body. I do actually quite like the feet. And the way this works as a shield, that's nice. But yeah, overall, I'm gonna have to put it right there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't like it. I know a lot of people do like it, but it's too weird for me. I'm sorry. I like weirdness when it's like this, but not when it's like this. Okay, the Mesala. I've actually really been wanting a high grade this one recently. I like how it takes a lot of design aspects of things like the Zeta, like the arms are similar to a lot of AU mobile suits. But it like upsizes the grenade launchers because it has to be upsized, I guess. I love the way that the legs flow. I know I'm constantly talking about the flow of the design, but for me, the flow of a design is really important to me. If a design doesn't flow well, which, by the way, at least to me, this design does not flow well at all. It's like things are contrasting with how they are all over the place, and I don't like that. But this design, like, it flows really neatly. But it also has a bit of a creature-like aesthetic to it, with the head is like inset into the body. I also really like these. I don't think I've ever seen someone talk about the high-grade masala. Well, then maybe when I get it, I'll make a video review. This piece here is interesting because it keeps the silhouette from being too front forward with how these legs are. But yeah, the backpack is obviously a big part of a big like standout part of it. And especially with how huge it is, it's very intimidating. I really like this design, so I'm gonna make sure that it goes quite high, probably around there, maybe even there. Okay, the Z2. I actually almost got this once a long time ago. This was almost like my 5th Gunpla, but I decided to get the high grade Ice Gundam instead because I had enough money from Christmas to get one, but not both. I don't really regret that because I really like the Ice Gundam, but I don't think I'd regret it if I got this one either. So the head feels more, and I use this too often, probably more creature-like than the Zeta's head. I absolutely love the legs and especially the feet. They're so good. Especially this little fin here, which makes perfect sense for it being transformable. I like what it does with the nose here, and especially these like big thrusters here. And then you got some nice mechanical detail there as well. The big skirt armors are also nice, and it's like it just feels like it feels so much more than the Zeta. It feels like if you got like RX-78 here and Zeta here in terms of Zeta-ness, then the Z2 is over here in terms of Zeta-ness. I absolutely love it, and I'm gonna put it. I almost want to put it right in the top position, but I think I'll put it below Baowu for now. I love the way the design of the Baowu flows. I don't know. You can even see where the Rizal came from. That's so true. The Z2 just slays so much, indeed. I think right now I'll keep it like that, but I might put it back behind the Baowu. Just know that the Baowu and the Z2 are basically in the same place, and the mass production Zeta is not far behind. Okay, the Gym 3. So it keeps a lot of the same things as the Gym 2. Like the torso is mostly the same, and the skirts. I like these like little antennae, and what I hate about all modern versions of it, like the unicorn one for instance, is that it doesn't have the giant bug eye like dome visor. Like, come on, cowards. Anyway, the backpack is the exact same as the Mach 2, which means it can mount the G-Defensor. Mengian, hello, welcome to the stream. I like this part here, and it also, is it Luigi Day? Luigi Day? I have never heard of Luigi Day before. Oh, is that because it's green? Oh, yeah, that's true. If that's what you meant. You've also got some Mach 2-like parts in the arms here. So I guess this is if the Barzam is the Titan's mass production of the Mach 2, this is the EU's mass production of it. We've got, again, a big thruster here on the side, although this time no little vernier on the inside of the legs, surprisingly. And yeah, I like this one a lot. Definitely more than the Gym 2. And I'll put it here. I'm gonna zoom out a bit again. Okay, the Gap Plant. This one was one that made a big impression on me. I really like its binders. Very cool. And the head is also quite nice. It feels very angular as well. And we're doing another green one, I just noticed. So I guess it is Luigi Day. The big thruster here on the back is very nice, and I really enjoy the way the transformation works. The shoulders help to give it this triangular silhouette, even more perhaps than the Zeta Gundam. It keeps this triangular silhouette, which is very nice. And I really like these big thrusters at the side as well. Feels very Hyzak inspired, which makes sense. This is the Titan's mobile suit. And you guys know I love when the chest comes in a point like this. So this one, I'm trying to keep things kind of brief. Definitely goes in A. Probably right here. No, here. Okay, and the Mach 5. So obviously the head is the standout part. Especially with that chin. Normally I'm not a fan of too huge chins. But I do really like this one. And then I like the way that the stereotypical V-fin is replaced with these two antennae on the head. It gives it a much more unique feel, and I really, really like it. I always like when there's like bug-like antennae on mobile suits anyway, so. The torso feels, it's, the way that the torso is maybe one of the more unique parts compared to the Mach 5 that was out of universe, it was based on, in universe is based on it. You can see they're quite similar, especially the legs, which is why I'm not going to talk much about the legs. But the way that this part is like longer, I like more, and I think it gives an interesting appearance. The shield is interesting, but I think this completely just lacks. I also really like the beam rifle, very unique appearance, especially with these like almost claw-like parts here. And then the backpack is not nearly as big, but it's still quite cool. You can see where a lot of the like, it looks less blocky than the Dovin Wolf. So you can see where some parts, like the skirt armors there, are originated. And we're gonna put it right behind the Dovin Wolf. Okay, the Hyakushiki. So this one has a lot of interesting aspects about it, like this shape here, which is similar to a lot of Grips era things. Very Mach 2 like shoulders. In fact, they're almost exactly the same as the Mach 2. The whole arms are really similar to the Mach 2, honestly. I'm a big fan of the backpack. In my Gundam Breaker streams, which I can actually continue again, because turns out the Gundam Breaker disc, I finally found it. It was in the case for Gundam Target's site, which was in Kazanki's room. So that's where that went. We know now. But yeah, the backpack as a whole is really cool. Obviously, the head is quite cool with the sunglasses appearance. I do prefer how on the Kai, the antenna is a bit more back. But it doesn't, it's not a big deal to me. I really like the way that the legs are. I don't know how else to explain it, but I like the way that they are. The knees especially, it's an interesting shape for knees to be. And I'm going to put it definitely above this one. But I think I like it more than the Mach 2. I'll put it right here. And now the Zero Shiki, which is the prototype in the Zeta Define version of events for the Hyakushiki, which is, I'm almost certain not canon. Alright, what I asked for, the Zero Shiki, yep. So I'm almost certain that it's not canon, but when have I ever cared about that one including units? It's canon of the Zeta Define version of things, but not the normal one. So you got these cables here. They're the cables I don't prefer, which are the like smooth ones, but it's fine. I really like this waist. The waist is my favorite part of this. The smaller side skirt armor compared to the Hyakushiki is nice. I really like this visor. Imagine if it was green though. That's what would really be cool. It's got sort of two-layered, but it's almost like in a tradition or like a transitional stage between single layer and two-layer shoulders. This little part here is very nice. This is actually my least favorite backpack for the Zero Shiki, but the other two didn't have good line art, so I chose to put this backpack in. But even this backpack is really, really cool. I like it a lot. I don't like the legs quite as much as the Hyakushiki, but the feet I might like a bit more. And the way it comes to more of a point, I really, really, really like that. You guys know that I love that. So it's going to go definitely higher than the Hyakushiki. I think I'll put it at right about here. Okay, this was a request from someone. I think it was IRX. But it is the Gatplant TR5 Rairu. So I'm not going to talk too much about the general body because most of that's the same as the TR5. Or the same as the normal Gatplant, I mean. But these parts, the main parts of the Furudu 2 mobile armor, they suit it really well. The blade rifle is one of my favorite firearms in all of Gundam. And it suits this one amazing well, considering this thing doesn't have a handled rifle normally. The head, giving it a Gundam-like, a slightly more Gundam-like head, but still with a mono eye is very cool. Although I do wish you could see the mono eye a bit more. It would be nice to see the like contrast of the mono eye and the V fin. But it doesn't matter much. And then these skirt armors are very nice with the sub arms too. But yeah, overall, it feels very balanced. It's surprising how well it works with the base design of the Gatplant, and I like it considerably more than normal Gatplant. We'll put it right here. No, I'll keep it below that. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one, but I'm not a big fan of the O. I'm just not a big fan of the wider, bulkier mobile suits. I'm also not a big fan of how the head is so tall. I don't really like the color scheme chosen. This part is pretty cool, I guess, but that's like, I don't really have much good to say about this, unfortunately. I don't really like the big flat feet either. The way the feet like open with the internal detail is cool. But yeah, people aren't gonna like this, but I'm gonna have to put it right there. And then the mass production double Zeta. So it still keeps a lot of what I don't like about the feet, but it takes away a lot of what I do like about it. This whole part with the shoulder-mounted missiles and cannons is interesting. I'm kind of surprised it keeps the high mega cannon. And then these two cannons on the side skirt is also interesting. So there's a lot of very interesting things, but I'm just not really feeling it. I think I probably like it a bit more than the normal double Zeta, though. So I'll put it right there. Okay, the Ashimar. By the way, the feet on this are exactly like a VF on Valkyrie. The chest cannon can melt the cockpit if pushed too far. Oh my god. I would just not use it, personally. I don't want to be melted. Anyway, it's got like an almost Dom-like face, which is interesting for a Federation mobile suit. I like this antenna here. It feels bulky, but in a unique way, where it feels not so much bulky as heavy. I like the way that the transformation works. And we got, again, big, what's it called? Big thruster here, little vernier here. I really like the vents here. Again, kind of Yo and Valkyrie-like. This one I didn't care for too much originally, but it's really grown on me recently. And I think part of that was when I decided to get the high grade. The high grade is spectacular. It fully transforms with no parts forming. And I'm going to put it right here. Okay, the Gabaldi Beta. So based on the Gabaldi Alpha, this one's definitely, like, it looks more Xeonic, but it's surprising how not Xeonic it looks. Things like the arms and the skirt armors help it look much more Federation-like, but also, this one was apparently supposed to go to AU before the Federation started getting wise, and then, well, the Titans specifically, and they said, no, look, we've got this mobile suit for you, and then just sold it to the Titans instead. But the shoulders are, again, sort of in a transitionary period between single and multi-layer, but definitely more on the single layer side of things. Got a little issue here in the liner, which a lot of the MHQ liners have, but this like dual layer side skirt armor is interesting. I do really like this one. And this one also has a fantastic high grade. I think the only sticker is the cockpit, if that even was a sticker. Or actually, I think actually the only one was the mono eye, not even the cockpit. I'm gonna put the base design a little bit higher than the high mobility version, and it goes right there. Although I do want to ask you guys, do you prefer backpack launching beam saber like in the original Zeta Gundam anime, or the shoulder beam saber, where the shoulder flips open and then the beam saber comes out, like in the new translation movies? I'll leave you guys to answer that while I move on to the DJ. Wait, did I include the Rick DJ, and did I want to? I don't think I did. I just thought of it now. Then again, I guess that's somewhat more of a... I'll save that one for the unicorn and tries counterattack one. So we've got side-mounted vents here, which are actually, come to think of it, very similar to the where is it? The full armor Mach 2. Yeah. I love this one because it's very Gelgoog-like when you look at it, but so now you've got Char piloting almost a Gundam and Amuro piloting almost a Gelgoog, and that's very interesting. It's even got the commander antenna. But the head is a very interesting shape. I really like the feet. They're very weird in a way that I really like. We got lots of vents all over the place, too. I'm not a huge fan of this cockpit, but it is what it is. The arms are also very nice. And the backpack is... I have mixed feelings about it. But it is what it is, I guess. And we'll put it... I think right here. Okay, we got the Palace Athene. I absolutely love this one. The cockpit's in DJ's head, is it? Oh yeah! I forgot about that. So then I don't even know why that piece of armor is there. Anyway, this one has a very interesting head with a nice long antenna. It almost reminded me of a Valkyrie's head laser. Got lots of vents here, which I think is very cool. The feet are very nice, and the legs flow very nicely. I love the way the legs flow. The backpack is very interesting too, especially with the fully armed form, which this is not. As well as these, I think these are just thrusters. I'm also a big fan of these vents here. And the shoulders are very interesting too. Very unique design. It's a very weird design, but a very good one. So I've got to put this in A, probably right here. Okay, the Martasai. This one I think is the most Zeonic looking one. I think it's more Zeonic looking even than the Hyzak. I do like the shield. I think the head is pretty cool too. I wish it was a little bit less Zeonic looking considering it's a Titan's mobile suit, but it is what it is. The legs flow pretty well, especially for a design of this type. I'm not a big fan of how the side skirts are, but again, it is what it is. I like this piece here on the arms. And it's nice that this isn't the same placement of spikes that are on most Xeon ones, I don't think. But anyway, it feels a little bit different at least, and it's very red though. The high grade is more orange. We'll put this right here, I think. Okay, the full armored double Zeta. So I do like this one more. It covers up some of the stuff here, making it feel a bit less busy. Whoops. I did not mean to do that. These cables are nice here, and I think in this case I do actually prefer this kind of cable. These parts being bigger is nice. The cannon here, again, it's, you know, it's gotta have that if it's full armor one. I really like this part here. You got vents everywhere. And the way this flows is nice too, also. Very cool. And I'm definitely gonna put this above the other types, probably right here. No, right here. Okay, the Bolonok-sama, and I was so surprised when I found out that a lot of people don't like this one. Or at least didn't when it first came out, because right for the first time I saw this, I loved it. We got some of that signature Zeta mechanical complexity. I really like the backpack. The dome head is interesting. I like the way the legs flow. And also I really like the proportions. With the way that, like, I guess just the way that it is. And then this feels like a predecessor to the Barzam shield rifle thing. Yeah, I like this one a lot. I was so happy when they announced the high grade, and I do have it. I need to build it still. I can never decide which one is like better between these two. I think right now I like this one better, but that's gonna change a lot. Okay, the Hyzak Custom. I've been working on a high grade of this for a while. I like the way that this torso feels a bit taller, which works because it's supposed to be like a higher performance one. The bigger knees work really well, in my opinion. The two sets of spikes make it cooler. The way that he looks like perpetually pissed off gives it the opposite personality, you know? The arms are also very cool. The arms I've actually gotten completely done on my high grade, as well as the knees. And the vents here, the like, types of thrusters here, which are, I like this type of thruster on this mobile suit. I don't like it as much as the normal Hyzak, but it goes up there. Okay, the Queen Mansa. This one is another one that I really, really like. I can't believe most people like the I forgot what it's called. I know how to find it. I know the model number. It was NZ-999. No, it wasn't. That's the Neo Zeon. It was NZ-666, the Kshatriya. Yeah, I can't believe most people like the Kshatriya more than this. The beam saber being in the, like, in here is very cool. The general shape of these is also very cool. I really love the head. This is the exact style of head that I absolutely adore. Who did this? Was this Mika Akitake? It looks like his work. Either the Queen Mansa or the Queen Mantha. It was Mika Akitake, you can tell. Anyway, I really like the way that this part flows, and the only part that really doesn't flow that well is surprisingly the legs, which usually flow really well. You can see how it's got some Mach 5 influence here. I've always found it interesting that the Hyzak custom skills are much closer to the Zaku than the base Hyzak. That is true, but I would count that as more just conversion evolution, if anything. Like, it just happens to be. I don't think it's intentional. I do actually, one thing I didn't mention, actually, that I really like is the red cables. Those are cool. I don't actually remember if this is symmetrical or not. I can't find out. I like this, like, hand cover thing. But yeah, this one is one of my favorite, especially for like a big mobile set like this. The way that the cables are done, and also every cable is like perfect for where it is. I can't believe we never got a kit of this. It's a crime. I'll put it here. Okay, the Isaac, or Isaac reconnaissance type. The second cable makes it really feel like this is an important data thing. I really like the sets of antennae that it has, as well as the shoulders, so the spikes won't interfere with this. But other than that, mostly it's just base Isaac. But the head is very interesting. It bro works out at the library. I have a problem with saying that phrase where I keep accidentally saying works out at the gym, and that's not funny, except it is funny because I'm saying it wrong. But yeah, bro works out at the library. And I do quite like the design, and I think it works really well for what it is. And the red vents and this are a nice little, you know, thing. That said, it is my least favorite Isaac variant. It's gonna go right about here. Okay, the Woundwort. I do really like this one, the way it has a very much a triangular silhouette. A lot of Zeta ones seem to have a triangular silhouette. And it works really well with that shape language. I like the way that the feet are. It feels almost Zone of the Enders-like, but not as cool. Probably inspired by Zone of the Enders with the way these, especially with the way these flick down. Yeah. This blade rifle is not as cool as the other one, but I still really like it. I need to build my Woundwort. I only built one. I have two. No, three. Four, technically. Wait, was it three? No, it was three. I don't remember. No, it is four. Yeah. I have four, technically. I have two Hazel 2s and two normal Woundworts. But one of them immediately became Isaac 2. And the others I haven't built yet. Anyway, I really like the big thighs and the way that they like go in like that, despite the overall tendency for a triangular shape. Its big butt is also nice. I'm gonna phrase it like that because I want to. I really like these fins here. And the head is also quite interesting. It's also interesting that you can't actually see the eyes for the most part. I wonder if it's this part of the shape was inspired by like maid headbands or not. But she's definitely gonna go in S tier. We'll say right there. Hey, look, we got the girls. Because these are the ones that these two are the two that are actually like basically canonically girls, even though most mobile suits don't actually have a gender because they're, you know, robots. Okay, the advanced Hazel, one of the only Hazels that I have in here because there's like a billion Hazels. So again, it's got that very triangular aesthetic, which the small shoulders very much aid with. I really like the head there, and the big knees, which are very much an advanced Zeta thing, it seems. Even things that don't have these legs still tend to have bigger knees with thrusters in them. But also the way that well, not thrusters, but like intakes for these big thrusters here. I really like these feet, but I have noticed that because of the way that they attach, now you got the normal foot at an angle, so the angle of the foot as it is now can move is very high in like this direction, but very low in like this direction, which is interesting. Not a complaint exactly, just something that's interesting. Of course, this one also has the different chest. I like to prefer the way this chest is. It's thinner, and I really like the way these vents are, and the fact that it points forward. All of those are very nice. These sub-arms are also pretty cool and help to aid in the overall triangular aesthetic. And we're gonna put this one pretty high, I think. Likely around here. Wait, this isn't the advanced Hazel. This is the Hazel Osla. Because it's got the torso. The Primrose gives the torso a very nice shape. Yes. This would be the advanced Hazel if it had different arm or different shoulders and different torso. But it's not. It's the Hazel Osla. If I'm saying that right, even. I might not be. I don't know. Okay, the Gabthale. Unless, am I wrong? There's no way I'm getting it wrong, right? Yeah. Okay. I just for a second I thought maybe I was mixing it up with another one. The head is very interesting. It almost looks like a Doom demon, like a demon from like Doom 2016 or Eternal. It gives it a very intimidating shape. The big skirt armor also helps with the overall like shape, which again, it's got a bit of a triangular aesthetic or silhouette, but not as much as the Zeta because of these larger shoulders. I like the bug-like appearance it has. The legs flow together very nicely. Not so much the arms, but they still flow pretty well. And really the whole body flows into the legs really wonderfully. And I like this knee joint. Very cool. And it's still got the you can see a little bit of its little last tiny bits of gym heritage with this from the gym too. Now where do I put this? I think I do actually want to put this back or down D. I think right here works. Okay, the Hazenthale. I do actually prefer the Hazenthale raw too, but I decided to include the Hazenthale in this case. Just because. Besides, his line art was easier to remove the background from because it's not so much white in it. Or the tier 6 Hazenthale, because that's an important difference. I do quite like the shoulder, and the head is very, very, very cool. It all points that way, and then the chin is very nice too. And also, I like that the V-fin points very back. The blade rifle is very nice, and it suits this quite well. I like the way that the legs, even though they're all straight shapes, they flow quite well. Squidassi, hello, welcome to the stream. But the pelvis piece of the TR6 works better with such huge legs. With the normal wound wart, it kind of stands out, which is part of the charm, the way it's weird, but, you know. I think it definitely works better here. And then also, I do prefer the Hazel 2 backpack here. Yeah, I like this one quite a bit. I can't wait for them to reprint it, and it's going to go very high, right up there. Okay, the Hammurabi. I kind of forgot this one existed temporarily. I do like this knee joint. It has something of a star-like silhouette. Hydrate. Okay, I'll hydrate. Not to the extent of something like the Strike Freedom. This cockpit is interesting, and it's neat the way it has mono eyes all over the place. The shapes of the arms are interesting, and then also this gives it a unique appearance, as well as the very flat feet. It almost looks similar to a Stingray, but I'm not going to put it that high. I don't know where to put this, actually. Right there, probably. Okay, this one definitely was a request from Irex, the Kirhar 2, which is supposed to transform into a very Ashmore-like shape. So I like this gun. First off, it's a little hard to see what you're looking at, but the this piece here, making the piece there, the crotch piece, even longer is neat. I do like these pieces here, especially with this big, I think it's a thruster there. I'm not actually 100% sure. I do like the big antenna there, though. That's nice. Does the part have to be pointy though? Well, would you prefer for it to not be pointy like that? Anyway, it is quite nice. It's not my favorite. It's definitely, to me, a downgrade from the standard wound warp. I'll put it like here. Never mind, pointy is better. Okay, the Zaku Mariner. So this one is interesting because it's canonically a Federation one that was then just immediately stolen by Neo Zeon. I don't even know why they made it that instead of making it a Neo Zeon design, but it does make it more interesting, I think. It's interesting how this is an antenna instead of a normal antenna, instead of a commander antenna for underwater use. Then again, also it's a Federation mobile suit, so actually that does make sense. I like the way the torso is done a little bit more than most Zaku's. And then also this is very interesting because it looks like a snorkel or something. I like these shoulders as well. And I actually really like the backpack with its big, you can't really see it there, but the backpack with its big underwater thrusters. And then also the ones on the back of the leg. And it works really well. At first glance, it feels lazy to use the Zaku again. But no, this one actually does work quite well. We'll put it here. Okay, the Hazel. The original Hazel. Last time I did a Zeta one, I did the Hazel custom, but I put the original Hazel here this time. Okay, so it using two rifles is pretty interesting. We don't really see that very much in Gundam. You can see a lot of it is still just Jim Quell. Except we see the beginnings of the two-layer shoulders here. The shield boosters are quite nice. I really wish Bandai would make just a high-grade shield booster all by itself. Or at least like a high-grade Hazel that would at least have two shield boosters. Like, come on. I think that looks peak. A lot of people agree with you, including myself. I am going to probably put this quite high. The big thrusters here on the back of the legs, the big intakes here are very nice. I already talked about that a little bit with the Hazel Osla, but it's quite nice here too. With the more traditional head and torso compared to the Hazel Osla, it has a more normal appearance. I like either one. But I do think overall I prefer this to the Hazel Osla because of the shield boosters. The shield boosters are very nice, and you could equip those on the Hazel Osla, but it's like not the typical. Well, no, because I like the feet a lot with Hazel Osla. I'll put it just below the Hazel Osla. The torso is also quite nice on the Hazel Osla. Okay, the Gun Tank 2. Technically, this is a 1-year war mobile suit, but I did forget to put it in my 1-year war tier list, so it goes here. Compared to the normal gun tank, this is even more gun tank-like. Actually, wasn't there a real-life tank that looked like the gun tank 2? Or would that look like the gun tank R45? Where was it? Trying to remember, there was a it was the tank of the JDF. Oh, it's literally called, oh no, it's apparently it's technically called the Type 78 self-propelled anti-aircraft gun, but it's generally just called the gun tank. And yeah, it does look quite like this. Anyway, I really like the antennae there, and then also these sensors there. I feel like I do have a complaint that I feel like these cannons being so high would unbalance it. But it's interesting that this looks considerably less arm like the original gun tank. And then also, like the mass production type, it seems like it can swivel, and therefore it doesn't have a core fighter, which is probably a good thing. Except now you have this part, which can swivel from this part, and then this part can swivel from this part, it looks like, based on that, which is interesting. And this like little gun here makes sense, and it's very real-life tank-like. I'm not gonna put this that high because this It's pretty cool, but that's all it is to me. Okay, we are almost done. The Bjarlent. This one is one of my absolute favorites, and I think I actually do probably prefer the normal Bjarlent to the custom, but the custom's not in this tier list anyway, so it doesn't matter. This one flows. Its shape geometry and the way it flows is interesting because it's not a triangle or a star or a specific shape, but it's more just that it goes down. The shapes go down. They all point downward. And we say that with this. I'm in all, but like this points up too, but like this thruster goes down, the arms go down, and they can't really go that high either because of the thruster there. These point down, the feet point down, like it all points down, and it gives an interesting flow and shape geometry. A silhouette geometry, I mean. And then I really like the head. It looks very intimidating, especially with these like this V-fin almost. And then the backpack is quite nice, especially when combined with the I don't even know what to call this part. This part. It's not exactly a shoulder. It's not exactly the torso. It just is. It kind of got that emote build. I have no idea what you mean by that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say yeah. We got almost who designed this anyway? I actually can't tell. It could be a Kotoki design, but I don't think it is. Kazama Fujita. So it's got a similar like arm thing to some Sentinel designs, but usually those are Ayuk Sentinel designs, not Titan/New Decides. Again, we got the similar to the where did I put it? I don't remember. I can't find it. Where did I put it? The DJ. I do not even remember. Did it disappear? Huh. Right there. Similar to the DJ and the full armor Mach 2, we got the vents venting out the exhaust to the side, not the front, which is interesting. Then it makes sense. It needs quite a bit of venting for all of these thrusters. I wonder if this thing would work in space. Probably not, but I think it would be interesting to make it try. But yeah, I like this one a lot, and it's gonna definitely go in S tier. Right there, which I think it needs to be rebalanced to put these at the top of A. I'll put even these two in A, I think. That is better. And then I need to actually slightly readjust this. There we go, the last one. The Xiku Ainz. I do actually prefer the sniper loadout with the big like big sniper and the big radome here, but this is the only one that has good line art, so I decided to use this one instead. And this is also the one that actually has a high grade. I don't know why they haven't made a high grade of the other two loadouts, but this beam rifle is still quite chunky. It's very big. The arms are very similar to the Hyzak's arms, honestly. Actually, when the characters, actually I think it was specifically Real Roots, saw this in the novel, he initially thought it was like based on the Hyzak. But anyway, these shields are quite nice. I do generally disagree with having ammo stored on the shield. I don't know what Kotoki was thinking with that particular choice, because you know the enemy can shoot it and then you know that it blows up, and then blowing up is kind of what you don't want to happen. But I can forgive it. It looks cool. These, I think they're propellant tanks. Being up here is also, it's quite nice looking. The head is very interesting looking too. It looks somewhat Zeonic, but not completely. And you got that very much Sentinel cockpit design too. This one is very, very cool. It's quite wide, chunkier than I usually like them, but it's still quite cool. So we'll put it in, I think, A. Probably about here. No. Actually, I think this is lower than those two, honestly. Probably that is too. Honestly, so is that. That's better. Okay, what other adjustments do I want to make? I think I actually maybe do like the high mobility type better. I like how these three are just like just don't have backgrounds. I mean, just do have backgrounds, rather. They don't have the background removed. What if I put it into no crop? What does that do to the size? It makes it a lot smaller. But it also kind of makes them feel disproportionately represented, so I think I actually do like portrait images. Yeah, I think this is probably good. Are the bottom tier Gundams you absolutely hate with the fiber wherever you're being? No, that only is this one. This one I just kind of don't like. This one also I just kind of don't like. And this one I only a little bit don't like. Honestly, even this one, it's like, it's not bad. It's just that it's significantly worse than the original design. Whereas this one is so much worse than the original design and just so doesn't understand the original design that I am filled with hatred of, even though it's not a bad design, because I really, really like the original, and this is not the original, and it doesn't understand the original, and it's trying to replace the original, and I don't like that. But really everything on here, like even this one, like I said before, this one, you weren't here though, but this one, if this was like a tier list of Beaver Transformers, this one would be the only thing in S. But it's, everything is very relative, so, like, even the things in C, I still really, really like. Actually, why did I put that so high? And why did I not put that high? There we go. This could also be a bit higher. Okay, yeah, this... I think this feels good. Stretch, okay. I feel like the people on Twitter are probably not going to like putting the O down there, because I see a lot of people really liking the O. But they'll have to deal with it, because these are the one. This is the list of what I like, and if they don't like it, they can make their own list, and they probably will, especially because I'm going to share the link to the list on Twitter, so people can make their own if they want. And they can tell me how much better their opinions are than mine, because I'm sure they will. But yeah, I'm definitely going to put these on the I'm gonna put the tier list on various socials, such as my Discord server and Twitter and even Reddit, which I don't use very much because I don't really like Reddit. But yeah, I think what I'm gonna do immediately after the stream is lay down and do nothing, because my throat hurts and I don't want to do anything. Maybe take an allergy medication, except that would probably make me fall asleep, which will ruin my schedule. But if it does, if it happens, it happens. Which, what am I supposed to do about it? But yeah, I think my throat hurting, because it's the globular sensation where it feels like something's stuck in your throat. I think it's allergy related. So maybe I'll make some tea. Also, I could do that. But yeah, yes, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all for being here. You should sleep and dream about your favorite Gundam. I'm not going to sleep until around 6 a.m. because I am going fishing overnight. So I gotta wake up pretty late, like around, I'm waking up at around 5 p.m. But yeah, that's fishy. The other thing I might do is, for those who don't know, one game that I played on stream once was Urquan Masters, which is Star Control 2, and then I played Star Control 3, which I loved. But most people do not love Star Control 3. They kind of hate it. So I'm working on modding Star Control 2 to turn it into Star Control 3. So I might work on that. if you want to keep an eye on that, and also development of any other games I'm making, because I am an aspiring game dev. I have a game studio that I made called Comet Softworks, which has so far released 0 games. But if you want to follow that, then be sure to join the Comet Software Discord server. If you want to keep track of my streaming activities, join the Netsui Ayahoshi Discord server, which the Netsui Ayahoshi one is actually linked in the description on YouTube, on Twitch. It's linked in the Twitch link place. And what else? If you want to support me monetarily and think I deserve it, then there is the best way to monetarily support me is by subscribing on Patreon, where you will also get Patreon exclusive and early access content, as well as anytime I make a long form video, you will be listed at the end as a patron and thanked. And also I have a Ko-Fi if you just give me one-time payment. Also, of course, there is subscribing on Twitch, but I definitely part of that, or like 70% of that, will go to Twitch and not me, so just be aware of that. But I definitely don't need any monetary support. Just being here is gonna support me, so let me double check to make sure there's nobody I can raid. There is not. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.